Alright, so a little frustrated because my computer just crashed halfway through making another tutorial, but we're going to just start it over. And, what happened happened. Apple computers are not invulnerable. Just remember that. I don't even think it was a power surge, it just freaked out. I think maybe it was a conflict between the cameras, maybe? I don't know. Not my cameras, but the webcams. Anyway, so what we're going to do this time is I'm going to just quickly jump into it. Sorry if I sound frank or brief or anything, but I want to get back caught up where I was. Unfortunately, there's no capture scratch or anything for the software ScreenFlow. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to talk as I go. I'm intentionally deleting my good topology here because Maya automatically, and I did a demonstration for this last time, sorry I'm not going to do it this time. Maya automatically triangulates everything as it's running, so when you perform a new action, or if you have that extra topology in there, it's going to automatically, see, it deleted my quick select set I had, it's going to automatically build those triangles for you. That's weird. It's automatically building those triangles for its render calculation. So you can see that it doesn't even consider this an edge loop before. But Maya likes its own topology. For things like beveling, which is what we're going to be doing, it actually prefers its own topology. So I'll show you the result of what happens. Actually, I should have showed you what happens when you don't do this. But what happens when you don't do it like this is your bevel gets all inside out, and it even with overlapping turned off, or that the fractional turned off, it still overlaps sometimes. But when you delete this topology in here and you let it have its automatic triangulation that it's used to, it's willing and open to change instead of the topology that you forced in there. And that's pretty important. So I think last time this was about 3.1 was about what I liked. There we go. And you can see that since I'm letting it triangulate all on its own, it's doing a lot better job than when I forced it to last time. Yeah, I wish I could show you. Actually, I will go ahead and I'm going to select this, save it as 8. Saving is something I should have done halfway through that tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up 7 again. Just to show you real quickly what happens when you don't do that triangulation. Or when you don't let it have its own topology. It's more flexible topology that's not forced on it by you. And by no means think that this means you should not have proper topology when you're working, because you should always have proper topology unless you know what you're doing. Because if I didn't have proper topology here, this little square thing would disappear. They're important things. Now I already have this open, so I did the exact same bevel you saw there. Well, look at this over here. That's not a bevel that we want. That looks terrible. So that's why we do that. I'm going to go ahead and quickly jump back in here. I'm not going to save that. And you can see that's much better. Very sexy. So now I've got that bevel done. I decided that these also need to be changed to fit that bevel now. So you can see there's a hole in here now. And while it's not necessarily a huge hole, it's still a hole. It's a problem. And we're going to fix it. Can't remember exactly how I did this. gonna grab this edge here, bevel it. I applied the same bevel, but obviously it's on a different object. It's going to scale differently. I did the same bevel so that I'd get like the same number of edges and stuff. So that's actually one way of doing it, but I remember, now I'm thinking back to how I did this last time. It was actually easier to go in here isolate these and this object so that we can see in here. And now I just went ahead and I deleted this face and I deleted this face. Make sure I have this set to 1 division. That's right. It's not going to show that when I'm in isolate select mode. It's actually, we're going to end up having to delete those faces later anyway. So probably it's not going to affect us to delete them now. Move this up here. I'm going to turn on a wireframe so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to bring this, match it up to here. Sorry, I should probably slow back down. I'm trying to... Have you ever had that happen? I'm sure you have, where you're working on something and then you crash. Because let's face it, especially if you're using Maya 2012, you crash a lot. I give it a lot of crap, but especially that interactive split tool crashes. I hate it. I just hate it so much that I've stopped using it because it crashes so frequently. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bridge these together. And now we've got that edge fitting appropriately. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to append this. Because I want this edge, because it's still lined up here perfectly, to line up perfectly again. And now we're actually about where we were halfway through that other video. We're almost where we were. I made a mistake last time and I extruded with my, I should probably actually change that now. With my extrude settings set to 10 divisions. So, edit mesh extrude. There's nothing selected to extrude, but I just want to make sure that this is set to 1 again. It's going to tell me, warning, nothing selected to extrude. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill this hole. You don't have, something I actually just recently learned myself. So here's where I want to make sure that this extrude face is set to none, 1 division. Last time it was still set to 10 from when we extruded our other part. So we've got these extra vertices down here, not a problem. We can just go ahead and grab these 2, 3, merge them center. Grab this edge here. I'm going to add a division. Merge these here. And bam. And I want to clean this up a little bit. I had a double edge there. Let me make sure that this is right. 1, 2, 3, 4 faces, 4 faces, 11 tries. Great. It's good. Trying to remember how I did this topology, but I'm just going to go ahead and remake it how I want to this time. So I have a quad there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 quads. Actually, Maya doesn't like this kind of topology here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make that 2 triangles. I just know from experience that it's going to be mean to me later on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete these. Let's add these together. And I'm going to extrude this in. And now I'm just always looking at my divisions because I made that mistake earlier. It's about how deep the other one is. I want to make this one a little more profound because it's on the front of the weapon. And I'm going to change this topology because it's bothering me. I want this to go from here up to here. And then what I'm going to do here is a neat little trick. I'm going to grab all the stuff on the side that I want. Thought I had some Z fighting there, but I didn't. I'm going to grab all the stuff on this side that I want, and then I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, Duplicate Face. It's gonna detach the mesh. So I'm going to have to reselect it. And now I'm going to flip it over the Z-axis. Scale Z, -1. I'm going to grab this, I'm going to snap it here. And that action reminded me to save, so I'm going to go ahead and delete history and save. Just because sometimes I had a snapping issue when I snapped vertices on 2012, where it would crash sometimes. Now I'm going to combine these objects. Take these vertices, or actually you can just select over the whole object and merge vertices, and then that merge little button. You can see we're going from 123 to 114. And if you want to be extra sure that you don't have anything there, I have border edges on here. I hit apply. These are the only border edges on this object. Awesome. Alright, so there we've gone ahead and we fixed that. Actually, these aren't perfectly lined up. We've gone ahead and we fixed that issue for this. And since we know that these are also the same thing, now that these dimensions are the same, so we're actually just going to grab all of this here. I'm going to delete that. We're going to steal it from this one. Using the same technique I just showed you. Edit mesh, duplicate face, object mode, get to the other one, snap that. I didn't get all the ones that I wanted. I guess I want all of these, but I also want all of these. Deselecting these. And now we'll go ahead and we'll duplicate that. This is a nice little workflow tip, just as you can see how much less time it takes me to do this than the other method. I'm going to just zoom in real quick on this vertice Make sure that it is indeed aligned. Whole object. And we're going to take these down here. Snap it. Snap it. Combine. Vertex, grab them all, merge. Bam. (162 to 154). So we know it worked. Why not just toss this on here to make absolutely super sure? And we're looking good. We have this one down here as well. I'm debating if I should do that one as well. I think I probably should. Go ahead and hop into X-ray mode here. And grab this face. This one and this one, I'm going to delete those. I'm just going to take this edge here. Extrude the edge out here. Repeat that action. Allow to this next step. Repeat that action again. And we're where we want to be. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to add a division to it. Make sure it's at 1. There it is. Go ahead and I'm going to merge that down here. Merge. Take this object, I'm going to isolate it, because if I try and fill hole here, it's only got one vertex stopping it, and that's not an edge stop, as I'd like to call it. So I can either append here, or I can extrude this and then merge these, which I like because it just feels better. And that's sometimes what it comes down to. I'm going to go ahead and fix this topology here. 1, 2, 3, Y. Didn't like it. Sometimes it won't do that little jump back and forth, because you're modifying that pre-built topology too much. So I'm going to go ahead and select all. I'm going to delete history and save again. And see, now after I crashed, I'm going to be saving every 5 minutes. Just watch. So we're back at about 20 minutes here. Which is about the time that I left off last time. But we're further than we were last time, so I guess I saved you a little bit of time here. So for this model, what I have in mind is a mechanism that extends down below here, kind of like a cylinder, or 2 cylinders here, like so 4 total, that dig down into this and secure it, and also bring the heat up to the heatsink from the barrel and the coils. I'm saying a lot, I'm sorry. But because, you know, saying but is so much better. I'm wondering if I should have it all for the game model first, because this is the game model that we're building right now, is the one that's going to be used in game, and the try count is getting dangerously high right now for a gun in a game. I think we'll probably end up cutting down some of these on these cylinders here, because look, 440 tries. That is how expensive cylinders are. This little muzzle here, 126 tries just for that little component. The barrel itself is 1,000, but that's got all this detail in here, all this detail. We're going to be cutting out some of that later. So I'm not too concerned about that. But again, if we're nearing completion, which we are here, in fact, let's just go ahead and extrude this in. Oh, I never rebuilt that topology. That's why we're moving along so fast. No, we gotta fix this. You can't leave that how it is. You have to fix that, especially when we're going back into Mudbox and painting this. We're gonna want all these edges here. Oh yeah. Because in Mudbox, and I'll cover this later, but just to keep talking, in Mudbox, when you're painting, it paints across lines onto the mesh pieces, which is what makes Mudbox so great, or any 3D painting tool like that so awesome. But the more lines that it has to pass, the easier it can run its calculation. I don't know how that works, but the smoother a mesh, the better your painting is going to go. So keep that in mind. Like a perfectly smooth mesh, like a human face or something, is what Mudbox just absolutely loves. It'll do that all day long. Absolutely loves those kinds of meshes. It doesn't paint well along these long cylinders here. And I have a solution for that we'll see later. When we go ahead and we do go into Mudbox when we paint this. So yeah, back to where we were. I'm wondering if I want to pull out those cylinders in the game model or not. And I think that I'm going to I'm not going to put them in. I'm actually deciding against it because my try count already, and I kind of get carried away with tries sometimes, and that's you'll probably hear me saying that when I say that, you know, engines can handle more and more and more. Well, you've already got 3,000 for half a gun. Some of the components, you know, like these, we do have both sides. This we have both sides, and we're going to lose these interior faces, and I'll keep telling myself that, but there are just too many tries to go ahead and be reckless like that. So I think that means we're just about ready to flip this over. I want to bevel this edge here, but I want to stop the bevel here. Why? Because I don't want to build an interior to these really skinny parts. They're already a little frugal with how small this face is here. And I might go ahead and I might tweak that on my own. Like the very small tweaks that I'm going to do, I'm just going to do on my own without talking through them, because the small tweaks you can do if you know how to do the big things. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to screw up my topology here intentionally. And as long as you know what you're doing, you're not isolating a hole or anything in your mesh, you'll be fine with this. And it no longer has that edge flow because we've intentionally deleted it. And that's where I want it to dead end. So it's going to give me some weird topology at the end. But I said in the other video, the one that crashed, Bevel will usually never give you the topology on the ends that you want. The only exemption is when there isn't an end. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to quickly do that set because I want to change this. There we go. So now I can grab that set again and go ahead and apply this bevel. And it looks pretty good. And you can see it's almost flawless with the topology that it wants. And see, look at that. Look at that gross topology it gives you at the end. It gives you, sometimes it'll end up giving you overlapping faces and stuff. You can find those just by hovering over or by doing mesh cleanup. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix the topology that it gave me, because I'm grateful for what it gave me, but it didn't give me what I needed. I'm going to make sure that all these are flush still with this. And just manually tweak this a little bit. So that it flows a little better in there. I want it to. So usually when you do a more complicated bevel like this is, where you're not going all the way around, you're ending here, you'll have to do a little bit of cleanup. And that's fine. It's what you gotta do. Gotta do what you gotta do. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna merge these to center. I'm gonna stop it right there. I think that'll actually look pretty good. Unless I wanna bring these in instead. Because now it's looking like this is starting to jut out here. So I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm going to do that. I'm going to merge these to center. No, I can't snap it like that because there's no returning reference point. Now I want to make sure that these are still flat, so I'm going to go into my component editor. I'm going to look at Z, make sure they're all at the same point. Because it looked like it was doing something weird there. So then this, I'm going to delete. I'm going to substitute my own bevel here. And I tell this to the guys at my job. I tell them, don't be afraid of wireframe. Wireframe is your friend. It might seem hard and complicated to work in, because frequently it is, but there are times where it's going to be exceptionally helpful. And the more you get comfortable working with it, the better off you're going to be. It looks like it's finally giving me some magnet tolerance in here. Must like the mesh again. Usually when a mesh starts getting really complicated, Maya will stop liking it. And tools will start doing funky things. But like, nope, I don't like that mesh, so I'm not gonna do what you want to it. Kind of mean, but what you gonna do? That's looking more like what I want. To make sure these are all hard edges. There we go. Make sure these are all hard. Close out of this. We don't need it anymore. And this is going to be the long TD selection here again, because we don't have that edge flow because we destroyed it. And it'll only highlight edge flow, like it has its own manual edge flow, but it's being broken by triangles. It's hard to really just grasp what that means, but like instantly, but what you gonna do? That's something that you need to go in and you need to turn on triangles and you need to start performing some actions and see exactly how it works. That's not something that can really be told to you. It's something you have to see. Kind of like the Matrix. Although, what was so hard about explaining the Matrix? Seriously, you had to take the pill to learn about the Matrix? I can explain the Matrix easily. Not the whole movies, because then you get into a convoluted mess of madness and prophecy and shit. But the Matrix is a computer-generated dream world. He says it himself. I mean, sure, you get his point emphasized by waking up in that world, but come on, Morpheus. You could have told him what's up. Alright. That's looking pretty good. Topology up here. Like. What the hell is this? I don't remember making a circle. Do you guys remember me making a circle? I don't. Maybe you saw something I didn't. Maybe I accidentally hit a command in the markup menu, but I don't remember making that circle. I can go ahead and I'm going to merge these together. And this is another reason why I'm not super concerned all the time about my poly count, because, you know, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of triangles here. And the reason I didn't just highlight the edge and delete edge / vertex is because I wanted to know where this topology was coming from and if it was safe to delete. Haven't screwed up anything, have I? Nope. Select all, delete by type history, save. And I'm going to pause for just a second. There we go. I was wearing out my voice, so I needed to get something to drink. Anyways, so where were we? We're just adding this bevel here and cleaning up some of this topology. Now I was wondering if I wanted to pull this area out a little bit, and that's why I left all this topology in here, and I'm still debating it. Jeez. Because it's going to make it look a lot better, but my try count is really high. And I think it's either do that or have an extra bevel here around the trigger. And for a trigger, I don't know if you've ever gone shooting or anything before, but really that you need to have that smooth around it or it's gonna hurt. So I'm thinking I'm going to get rid of this topology, but I'm going to make sure that I save, and then I save as a new iteration so that if I want to, I can go back to it. If I flip the gun over and I look at it and I say, well, I kind of want that again. My try count, since there were extra interior faces I wasn't thinking about, that saved me some polygons, but no, for now, I think that trigger bevel is going to be more important. See, I think we beveled that, so you can see the nasty topology that it created and how now it's giving me trouble. Now let's grab this one here. Delete that. And now it should look exactly the same, and we got rid of a bunch of tries. I mean, it's closer to the base, so I'm hoping that the detail on here that we're gonna paint on there, and in the higher res, gonna distract you from the fact that this is a little flat over here and over here. This trigger area might be a little large. I might have to reevaluate this, make this whole, like, put a cut from here to here. Which actually, can I do that? Or is it too high? It works. But that might cause some Z fighting, so I'm not gonna risk that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fix up this topology here. But like I was just saying, I might want to reevaluate how thick this section is. Though when you think about it, when you're holding a gun, it comes out to about that point, so it makes sense. Sometimes you gotta think about the perspective that you're working in. Sometimes you'll forget it. Actually, I want this one over here, and the next one I'll direct back to this one. This one I'll direct up. And decisions for topology, it took me a long time to get a good idea of how certain topologies acted. Sometimes it's not a matter of knowing good versus bad topology, because that's just math. I mean, what is it? 2 plus e, 2 plus the number of edges equals faces plus vertices is the equation for good topology. Or is the equation to prevent non-manifold geometry, and non-manifold geometry is essentially just bad topology. So that's what I'm going to say about learning topology, is it's all just using the tools and finding which tools like which topologies and which ones don't, and how we should be doing that. And I just realized there is no need to be putting that topology there, but I think I said some important stuff, so I'm not going to undo that. I just realized, or I made the mistake of, actually that can stay, that can stay, that can stay. This needs to go, 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 go. I want that to go as well. I wasn't thinking about the fact that we're just about to bevel this, that this was the next step. So I apologize for that. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to cut that part out, and you might be angry at me for that. Okay, you have a right to be angry, because I think that's important. Actually, about the topology and learning it yourself by just going through using different tools and seeing how they act. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to wish that someone had told you that before, exactly how every tool operates. But quite frankly, to tell you how every tool operates in every topology would take forever. The amount of time that it would take me to tell you would be time that I could learn muscle rigging, which is something that I really want to learn. Like that's how long it would take. It would just, it's not practical. So, sorry, but for that, you're on your own. I mean, like I'm telling you how it works with bevel, so at least you have some knowledge there. And ooh, I see a topology I can do here. Ooh, what is... Okay, I see what I did there. I don't actually like that. I was stupid when I did that. What I'm going to do here is something I am going to like. I'm going to take this bevel across. Whenever you can make rectangles and squares, do it. Rectangles are your friend. Just like quads are your friend. They all hang out together. That was so not funny. This really doesn't want to go, but I want it to work. because it is a good topology. I don't care what Maya says. It's incredibly useful. Why is it doing that? Alright, cross your fingers and hope I don't crash. Because that's how this tool works. That was, see, I hate that tool. It's terrible. Let's just triangulate this. Ah. I know what's happening. So look at that. Internal faces. Busted. Let's check the other side. So the other side did fine. But this side had internal faces. But you know what? That's fine. This is going to make this easier because we can use our good old bridge fill hole trick. And there we go. That looks a lot more comfortable than that hard edge. Alright. I resumed recording, right? That would be terrible if I didn't. Oh, God. So now we've got this nice bevel in here. You can see that the mesh, after removing these extra tries in here and adding the bevels, we've about evened out to what we were before we pulled that stuff out. So we cut even there. And that's exactly what I was saying. The balance between those were going to be pretty close. So now I want to take some of these edges. I want to make sure that they're soft where I want them to be soft and hard where I want them to be hard. So I want these to be soft. That to be hard. You can see how it did have a positive change there. We have another face in here. Three faces, yep. Two vertices there. And this is what you got to be really careful of when you're modeling. Crap like that. Well, that's why good edge flow, you see, I can tell where there's an issue and where there's not just by following the edge flow. And then I want this and this to be soft. I want the interior one to be hard. And I want all the exterior ones to be hard, which I think they are. Actually, a lot faster method for that would be to take these faces There's nothing attached to them that should be soft. And if you hit harden edge here, it'll harden all the edges. See how it changes the selection to edges? So it went ahead and it did that for us. This actually, I want to be soft. Soft. Let's see. I don't want to get too exceptionally detailed again in here. But that looks a lot better in there. This is kind of the same thing as Mental Ray has. I don't know if you guys render in Mental Ray if you've encountered it yet, but it actually has a hardware node that you can attach to edges, and it does a hardware version of softening edge that looks a lot like bevel instead of softening. Why I felt obliged to say that, I don't know. But the more you know. I'll go ahead and save since I don't know the last time when I saved. And you know what? I'm going to pause this so you don't have to see me do that again. Alright, there we go. My CPU's starting to kick up again. Yep. Alright, so where were we? We're at 51 minutes 32 seconds. I just cleaned up this topology in here. I want to soften up the normals in here real quick. I actually should have done that during the pause. You wouldn't have noticed the difference. Or you would have noticed it, but you wouldn't have known when I did it. It was kind of a noticeable change there. And the cartridge, I don't know if the cartridge should have a beveled edge or not. And that's still a consideration. I think we've done just about all the beveling that I feel comfortable doing while maintaining a decent poly count. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this because we don't need this anymore. It's 54 tries that are misleading. Save. And I actually don't think I really need to restart it because I think that's about where we should end for the session and me for today because I'm tired. I was working 9 to 5. I was on the job from 9 to 5. I only know that from American Dad. I don't actually know who sang it. Someone's out there right now going, blasphemy. But I think it's time to go ahead and in the next session, we're going to go look for topologies that we can change, that we can fix. Like this here. These can all be merged over. Then it flows through here. That can also be changed. Look for ways of optimizing the model. I'll sleep on if I want to bevel this or not. And we will get into optimizing this mesh for flipping it over. And hopefully after we optimize, we can have it as easily flipped over and finished as we can. We're going to take like this little section off of the other side because it should only be on one side of the rifle. Actually, we'll probably pull off this side because we're going to assume people are right-handed, so they'll have the control panel here. We'll move this into the proper position, and which it should be about in the proper position right now. This tube, we'll decide which of these pieces we're going to go ahead and cut in, if we're going to cut in any of them or these shapes here. And we'll cut those in if we want to cut them in, and if not, we don't. And we will be ready to start UV mapping this. Oh, I know. The most exciting part of a model is UV mapping, let me tell you. It's not. UV mapping is terrible. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna select all that, delete by history, save, especially with the bevels, that's gonna make it horrible. We're gonna delete and save again, and that's it. I'll see you guys next time.